A new diplomatic chill has descended upon the Arctic, casting a long shadow over the region's icy expanse. Once a symbol of remote tranquility, the Arctic is now at the center of a growing geopolitical storm, where the stakes are higher than ever before. Tensions are threatening to freeze the alliance between the United States and Denmark, two nations whose cooperation has long been crucial to stability in the far north. The diplomatic frost is palpable, with both sides wary of each other's next move. At the heart of the dispute is Greenland, a vast and resource-rich territory that has become a flashpoint for international rivalry. The United States and Denmark are once again at odds over its future, each with their own vision for the island's destiny. But this time, the disagreement has escalated far beyond a quirky real estate proposal. What began as an offhand suggestion has now evolved into a serious international standoff, with global implications. President Donald Trump's renewed push to acquire Greenland has been met with sharp rebukes from both Danish and Greenlandic leaders, who have made it clear that their sovereignty is not up for negotiation. The rhetoric has grown more heated, with public statements and private meetings alike reflecting deep mistrust. For Denmark and Greenland, the move is seen as a direct challenge to their autonomy and national pride. Protests have erupted, and government officials are scrambling to reassure their citizens that their rights and resources will be protected. The timing of this confrontation is especially tense, coming just after a dramatic U.S. military intervention in Venezuela. The world is watching closely, and many are questioning the broader intentions behind America's recent actions on the global stage. These developments have raised alarms about American ambitions worldwide, fueling debates among analysts and policymakers about the future of international relations and the balance of power. This is more than a diplomatic spat. It's a test of national sovereignty, self-determination, and the trust that underpins the NATO alliance. The outcome could redefine alliances and reshape the security landscape of the Arctic for years to come. As tensions boil over and the world's eyes turn northward, the question remains: will this confrontation reshape the balance of power in the Arctic and beyond, or will cooler heads prevail before the ice cracks for good? To understand the conflict, it's crucial to know Greenland's status. It's an autonomous, self-governing country within the Kingdom of Denmark. Greenland manages its own domestic affairs, but Denmark retains control over foreign policy and defense. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has made it clear, any talk of the U.S. taking over Greenland is absolutely absurd. She insists that Greenland belongs to its people, who have repeatedly said they are not for sale. The Danish government sees American pressure as a violation of trust between allies and a challenge to both legal and moral principles. For Denmark, it's about protecting the rights of the Greenlandic people and the integrity of the kingdom. The U.S. overtures are viewed as disrespectful to the history, culture, and democratic will of both Greenland and Denmark. President Trump has reignited global tensions by openly declaring that America needs to acquire Greenland, a move that has stunned both allies and rivals. His bold statements have brought the world's attention back to the icy island, raising questions about U.S. intentions in the Arctic and the future of American foreign policy. Trump frames the acquisition as a matter of national security, emphasizing Greenland's strategic location and vast natural resources. He argues that American control would strengthen the nation's defense capabilities and secure vital interests in the rapidly changing Arctic region. His administration's actions, such as appointing a pro-acquisition envoy and dispatching high-level diplomats to negotiate, signal a serious intent to pursue this controversial goal rather than just floating an outlandish idea. Meanwhile, provocative social media posts and cryptic public statements have only heightened Danish alarm, fueling speculation and anxiety across Europe about America's true motives. The U.S. approach now feels less like a straightforward business proposal and more like a campaign of intimidation, with pressure mounting on Denmark to reconsider its long-standing position. In response, Denmark's ambassador to the U.S. has spoken out forcefully, demanding respect for Danish territorial integrity and warning that such aggressive tactics threaten to undermine decades of trust. Trump's insistence that only full American control is acceptable disregards decades of close defense partnership and existing agreements, including the vital Thule Air Base, which has long symbolized U.S.-Danish cooperation in the Arctic. This aggressive posture has transformed what once seemed like a quirky, even humorous idea into a genuine diplomatic crisis, with world leaders now scrambling to contain the fallout and prevent further escalation. The US is now seen as challenging not just Greenland's status, but the very foundation of its alliance with Denmark, putting years of cooperation and mutual respect at risk. As uncertainty grows, the stakes have never been higher for transatlantic trust, with the world watching to see whether diplomacy or confrontation will define the next chapter in US-European relations. The Greenland dispute is unfolding in the shadow of a shocking US military intervention in Venezuela, a move that has sent shockwaves through the international community and upended the fragile balance of global power. The world watched in disbelief as American forces landed in Caracas, their presence unmistakable and their intentions clear. In a swift and controversial operation, US troops captured President Maduro and asserted control over Venezuela's vast oil reserves, effectively redrawing the geopolitical map of Latin America overnight. The images of American soldiers patrolling oil fields and detaining government officials have become symbols of a new, more assertive US foreign policy. This unilateral action has rattled European allies, who had long relied on the United States as a stabilizing force. Now they find themselves questioning Washington's commitment to international norms and the rule of law. European leaders are deeply unsettled, fearing that the US might employ similar tactics elsewhere, including the resource-rich and strategically vital Arctic. The possibility that Greenland could become the next flashpoint has injected a new sense of urgency into diplomatic discussions across the continent. Greenland's Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, condemned the comparison between Venezuela and Greenland as disrespectful, warning that such rhetoric only heightens tensions and undermines trust between allies. His words reflect the growing unease among smaller nations caught between superpowers. Behind closed doors, political advisors and diplomats express deep anxieties about American intentions, worried that the era of cooperative security may be giving way to a new age of power politics. For many in Europe, Greenland has become a test case, a symbol of how the US might treat its allies when strategic interests are at stake. The debate now centers on whether old alliances can survive in a world where might increasingly trumps right. The fear is palpable that the US is abandoning its long-standing respect for national sovereignty in favor of a more aggressive, unilateral approach. Protests and public outcry have erupted across Europe, with citizens demanding assurances that their nations will not be next. Denmark, bound to the US by NATO and responsible for Greenland's defense, now finds itself in an uncomfortable position, caught between alliance obligations and the imperative to protect its own sovereignty. The shadow of Venezuela looms large, making Denmark's defense of its Arctic territories and its political independence more urgent than ever before. Danish leaders are calling for renewed dialogue and stronger guarantees from their allies. As the crisis deepens, a dark cloud hangs over the Atlantic Alliance, leaving Europe to wonder whether the bonds that once held the West together are now beginning to unravel. America's interest in Greenland is driven by its strategic location and vast economic potential. Greenland's position in the North Atlantic makes it a linchpin for U.S. defense, hosting the critical Thule Air Base and advanced missile warning systems. The Pentagon sees control over Greenland as vital in an era of renewed great power competition. But it's not just about military advantage. Greenland is rich in rare earth minerals, oil, and gas, resources the U.S. wants to secure as global demand soars. The melting Arctic is opening new shipping routes and making resource extraction more feasible. For the Trump administration, Greenland represents a unique convergence of military and economic imperatives. Gaining control would give the U.S. a strategic and economic edge in the Arctic. The island's value has never been higher or more contested. For Greenland's 56,000 residents, this is about identity, autonomy, and their future, not a real estate deal. Greenland's leaders have responded with unity and clarity. Greenland is not for sale. Prime Minister Nielsen called Trump's comments disrespectful, emphasizing that Greenland welcomes business, not ownership. The idea of being transferred to another country is seen as an insult to their national identity. Polls show virtually no support for joining the U.S. Greenlanders want partnership, not annexation. They seek sustainable development on their own terms, ensuring benefits flow to their people. The American approach ignores Greenland's desire for self-determination and treats it as a prize, not a partner. Greenland's message to Washington is clear: their home cannot be bought. Denmark's response has been firm and deeply disappointed. As a founding NATO member, Denmark is now forced to publicly rebuke its closest ally. Prime Minister Frederiksen's message is direct. The territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark is non-negotiable. Denmark has been a reliable partner, making the US pressure all the more baffling. The Danish government insists that alliances are built on trust, not coercion. By defending Greenland's right to self-determination, Denmark fulfills its constitutional and moral duty. The diplomatic standoff has united Denmark and Greenland in defense of their sovereignty. Denmark's plea is for a return to partnership based on respect, not unilateral demands. The fallout from recent events has strained US-Danish relations to a breaking point. Trust between the allies has eroded, with Denmark and Greenland drawing a firm line against American pressure. Restoring normalcy will require the US to publicly reaffirm respect for Danish sovereignty. The language of acquisition must give way to partnership and cooperation. Instead of impossible sales, the US, Denmark, and Greenland could focus on Arctic security, research, and sustainable development. Investment and collaboration, not coercion, are the path to shared goals. This crisis underscores the importance of respecting international law and self-determination. The world is watching to see if the US chooses dialogue over dominance. The Greenland crisis is a pivotal test for transatlantic relations and the future of the Arctic. Denmark and Greenland's united stand shows that sovereignty and self-determination are not for sale. The US must reset its approach, prioritizing respect and partnership over pressure. America's interests in the Arctic can be advanced through collaboration, not confrontation. Alliances are built on trust, not transactions. Rebuilding that trust will require de-escalation and a renewed commitment to shared values. The choice is clear: dominance or leadership. The future of the Arctic and the Western Alliance depends on it.